Hello and welcome to the GT New Zealand Championship. We have made it to round 5 and the championship picture is starting to become clear. We have 2 races ahead of us tonight, 2 new challenges for the drivers to overcome as we head to Mount Panorama and Fuji. Welcome in to everyone who is tuning in on NZ Sim Racing TV. I am Matt Smith, and on behalf of TrackSpotTV, we're bringing you all the action tonight. Unfortunately, no George Cook today as he has fallen ill, and that's why I'm jumping in, and so we wish him a speedy recovery. That does mean that we get to welcome in Nathan Howe into the commentary booth. You've been behind the scenes organising the series up to this point, Nathan. And we've actually had a last-minute swap of the race lengths here tonight as well. What can we expect from tonight's racing?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I mean, yeah, awesome to be here. Unfortunately, George Cook is George Crook. Like you say, round 5, penultimate round of the championship. We sort of already have an idea of the way things are going to go, but the battle's on in that mid-pack, right? I mean, look at the names that are rising, falling, swapping places. I mean, just, yeah, even Scotty Greenless last round, right? I mean, how cruel to be denied victory, not once, but twice. So you know he's definitely going to be on the charge. Slightly shorter races. We did have a bit of a revision to the race distances, but we're not going to let that take away from the action tonight, are we, mate?
Absolutely not. We are expecting action once again. And of course, on the line is the big prize. We have Toyota GAZOO Racing New Zealand on board, providing the real racing experience, the Hampton Downs Racing Academy, for our championship winner at the end of it all. That's going to be a huge one that they're all fighting, trying to win. And Nathan, it's quite a credit to the series that we do have the likes of TGRNZ coming on board with such a package.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've talked before about how awesome it is to have Nico and the team at Toyota GAZOO Racing behind this championship. They see sim racing, they see the what it brings to motorsports, you know, the sport we love, and yeah, it's just such a unique thing to have one of the world's biggest automotive manufacturers and one of the world's biggest factory racing outfits supporting our championship.
Yeah, it's great to see, and we have a lot of supporters on board that are bringing this championship to life and bringing it together. We've also got Hectic bringing us the Hectic moment, which I love to see. This one from last week, we had McEwen tucked into the slipstreaming battle. Looked like he was about to get boxed in and blocked by the 2 drivers ahead. Managed to find the space down the middle between them, gets through, sends it into turn number 1, where we saw there was drama at other moments in the race, but McEwen double overtake into turn number 1. He pulls it off, gets through cleanly. That was the Hectic moment for the previous round, and that has earned Matthew McEwen the PlayStation voucher for his Hectic moment of the week.
Yeah,
now we have... Sorry, I'll just jump on the top there because we have the setup of the week as well to have a look at, and this one coming to us from Frillix. There he has the quite a basic seat there with the rig looking at his TV screen. Nathan, what do you make of this one?
Yeah, look, it just goes to show, right? You don't need the latest tech and the latest equipment to be competitive in sim racing. Isn't that right?
Absolutely true, and I think it's also the journey that a lot of people go on, right? You get into sim racing, you want to get going, you get what you can in the living room, and then everyone just wants to chip away and keep improving their setups, right? Keep buying the next thing and the next thing to make it bigger and better. But it's awesome to see that everyone's able to jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's have a look. Let's have a look at some of the driver profiles. So Scotty Greenless, Matt. I mean, we just talked before about how cruel the last round was to him, right? 18-year-old from Palmerston North, and I mean, you already know. Like I said, he's going to be on a mission. He knows that he deserves to be at the top of the grid. He knows that he's got the pace to make it happen. Now he just needs the results to show.
Absolutely right. He'll be showing up as Scotty Ray in game, representing TWC Esports, and he is certainly one of our top drivers we have here. Such a young guy to be competing at the top, and only a few drivers have managed to take it to McEwen, and he absolutely looked like he deserved that win last time out, but like you say, taken away from him in the end, and he'll be back wanting to be a driver who can take down Matthew McEwen, because so far only Simon Bishop has been able to do that.
Yes, certainly.
Taking a look now at how the overall championship picture does shake out. We've got Matthew McEwen at the top with his 6 wins. We'll keep talking about him because he is dominating this championship at this point. 26 points in the lead, ahead of Simon Bishop, who's the only other driver who's been able to take a race win from Matt McEwen. He did it in the first race of the championship. He's done it in the most recent race as well. That puts him in second and still within striking distance of this championship if he can get himself a good result tonight. Gareth Collier in third, Rhys Davison in fourth. Alex Little, unfortunately missing tonight, but he has been sitting 5th position in that tight battle with Ben Groves and Scotty Greenless for 4th in the championship as well. It's all shaking up now as we've only got 4 races left to go. Is there anyone you're particularly keeping your eye on, Nathan?
Well, I mean, obviously Scotty, we need to see exactly how he goes on this one. Ben Groves has sort of been a bit of a quiet achiever there. He hasn't had any podiums, he hasn't had any wins, but he's still there or thereabouts. And I mean, look at how close sort of 4th, 5th, 6th is in that championship. It's still wide open, anyone's game. Obviously, Simon Bishop's the only other man to have bested McEwen, so can he do that once or twice more before the championship's over? But I mean, yeah, just really don't look away. Anybody could surprise us, mate.
Absolutely right. And the way things are at the top, Matthew McEwen only needs to get 4 extra points ahead of Simon Bishop to claim the championship tonight. So Simon really needs to be finishing ahead of McEwen to keep it alive and take it to the final round next week.
Certainly right. Certainly. And what a couple of races we have gearing up for us. I mean, the guys, we're watching the practice, they're already playing for keeps. I mean, this Supra is absolutely rapid at Bathurst, so yeah, it's going to be awesome. And of course, who doesn't love GT500s at Mount Fuji, which is an iconic car and at an iconic track.
Absolutely right. It's 2 exciting races tonight, 2 iconic tracks really. When you're talking about Mount Panorama coming up first with these GR Supras, what a combo to start things off as we are about to head down, here we go, to qualifying.
Now this is Toyota's flagship sports car, right? The Mark V Supra, yes, it's got the BMW engine, and there's been plenty of jokes made at its expense, sorry, but let's not take away from what it is. It's a front engine, rear wheel drive, non-hybrid sports car. I mean, that alone, that's becoming increasingly rare in the big 2026. So the fact that we still get to see these things, and just looking now, look at Simon Bishop's beautiful livery. It's a shame George isn't here to appreciate it, Matt, because I know that he would be looking at that and going, that is one attractive looking race car.
Attractive looking man on the side of it. We're going to get a look. There's the close-up there of the M&M's inspired livery. It appears to be on the Supra. Simon Bishop having to do his own livery work again this week. His regular man not able to have the time to put together a car, and that's why we get the Simon Special on the Supra as he heads out around Bathurst. It's about a 2-minute lap. 2-minute 14 was the fastest I saw these drivers doing in practice there. So that's really what they'll be targeting in qualifying. And it's a 10-minute qualifying session as we've seen throughout the championship. So they've got a chance to do a few laps here, get their eye and get dialed in. I saw Bishop looking a little bit loose over the top, getting close to those walls. And certainly the walls are going to be a feature at the top of the mountain here today.
No, certainly right. Bathurst is one of those tracks where there is just no margin for error, and especially on the downhill run, if someone gets it wrong, you're basically not going to see them until it's too late. So, these guys are going to want to make sure they've got plenty of room to do their qualifying laps. Obviously, it's only a 10-minute session. It's a very, very short, you only get sort of maybe 3 or 4 good cracks at a lap, all going well. But, yeah, I mean, how good. Bathurst, you don't get much more iconic than that as far as Australian motorsport. Definitely, we need to see some more Australia, New Zealand racetracks in the franchise, but that's a different conversation, isn't it, Matt? I know we'd look at Hampton Downs coming, maybe.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, any New Zealand track, I'd absolutely love to be driving every day. It's something you want to be a part of, and that's why when we do come to Bathurst here, all the Kiwis have done a million laps at this track, right? We've all practiced it. It's so iconic in our region. And so there's not really any excuse. Although in saying that, the Supra, these road cars, essentially, they look like the supercars a little bit, of course, but this is the road spec version of it. It's not maybe the car you would have done that many laps in at this circuit. Usually you take something a bit quicker, supercars inspired perhaps, around this track. So this might still be a little bit of a handful for these drivers to get used to, and I'm sure they've done enough practice laps. At least the top drivers done enough practice laps to get their eye in it.
Well, that's certainly right, and I mean that's kind of been the whole criteria for this championship, right? So many different Toyota models, and I mean we've had race cars, we've had road cars, we've done wings and slicks, prototypes, you name it, all the different sort of characteristics you could expect in a race car. You know, last week we had 2-ton Grand Tourers, and then we had, you know, the latest Le Mans spec hypercars. So just the sheer variety of driving experiences. And now, like you say, we've got the Supra, which is a sports car. It's designed to go fast. Like you say, they've whacked a V8 engine in them and gone on racing in Australia. And I mean, we're about 30 seconds away from seeing what those sort of starting lap times look like. But yeah, gone are the days of the road cars being sluggish sort of 2-minute 30 plus laps around Bathurst. Now they might well be not too far off the supercars themselves.
Yeah, these cars certainly are quick, and that's why we've had to put them on the sports soft tyres, isn't it? We had to try and slow them down, make it a bit of a challenge to get around the circuit, because they do handle well. Love a Supra, and getting them out around Bathurst, they do go well, and that's the sports soft is where that challenge is going to be a part of it. I have to say the brakes are certainly one of the aspects that are a lot worse than, say, a supercar. You do have a long braking zones compared to when you're in the race cars. As Simon, it looked like, bailed out of that lap, so he's made a mistake somewhere, wants to reset to go again. We're getting the first lap times rolling in now, and the first two drivers are closer than you could believe. Dive Cable ahead of Scotty Greenless. What is that? 0.04 between the top two drivers.
That's 0.004, so it's even closer than that. Yeah, gutted for Simon because it looked like he had to abort that lap really late in the piece. And I mean, Matthew, I'm sure you've been there before, where you've been on an absolute flyer. This is the lap, and then you bottle it with like 2 or 3 corners to go, and it's just that whole process of having to reset, go again. He's going to have to do another out lap, and you see too, these guys, they're not so far away from each other. I think there might be a few guys trying to sneak a sneaky slipstream from, you know, maybe one of their competitors. Obviously tyre and fuel wear is disabled for qualifying, but slipstream's still on. So if you're able to get a bit of aero help down that Conrod straight, there's no rule against it.
Absolutely right, and it's a long straight to get the aero. I'm just watching it as well as we see McEwen has come to the line. That's what I was keeping an eye on. He did his traditional go out late in qualifying, find his own space, and he's the first driver into the 2-minute 14s. 2:14.697. The gap is no longer 0.004, as you pointed out there. It is a full 0.4 of a second that McEwen has managed to put ahead of Dive Cable on those first laps. We are 6 minutes into the qualifying session, so there's still time for a couple more quick laps out there now, and we've seen so far this season it can come down to that final lap, so you need to keep pushing, you need to dial it in and really ramp it up towards the end of qualifying.
Yeah, it can come down to the wire, and it usually does. I mean, pretty often you watch these lap times tumble down and down and down, and then it's right at the end of the session, you know, that last opportunity to bank your lap, that you do see the big gains. I mean, we're looking at Dive Cable right now, and I mean, he won't take that line down. Look at him coming crossed up out of the chase. He's on a real flyer. We'll wait to see what this lap looks like, but it's been a pretty tidy run. I mean, Gareth Collier, he knows how to wrangle a race car, and so we just wait and see. Of course, one of the more controversial things of Gran Turismo's implementation of Bathurst is that the timing line is at the start line, rather than obviously most of the other, you know, ACC and iRacing, the timing line's at the start. So you've got sort of an extra, what is that, 300 or 400 meters to travel where you wouldn't need to in any other game. And 300 and 400 meters, that can make all the difference in some races, can't they, mate, when it's down to that sort of a line?
Yeah, well, it changes the way you approach the exit out of the final corner, right? We're having a longer run to the finish line. You want to get a good run out of that corner, whereas maybe you'd compromise it a little bit if the finish line was right up close. We're seeing a lot of drivers go very deep out of turn 1 as well, right up over the curb and getting the car a little bit sideways. So that's another little spot to keep an eye on to make sure you nail it. You don't want to make a mistake there and sort of set your lap up the wrong way. There's a big mistake from Lewis, and he's out of it straight away.
Far out. I mean, Bathurst being technically a street circuit, right? There aren't that many opportunities to cut a corner, but absolutely. I mean, Murray's Corner, Hell Corner, you can definitely get a track cut if you're not careful. Up at the top of the mountain here, it's probably a bit more difficult. I think if you're if you're cutting the track here, Matt, you've probably got bigger problems. But
No, well, this is the funny thing with Gran Turismo, right? Is the dipper is a spot where you have to watch out for, because there is a wall there, but if you cut the grass a little bit too much, you can actually get a penalty there. So it's kind of a little bit of a controversial spot that it's not right up against the wall. You can run into problems. And I've actually seen a lot of drivers, not just the penalties, it's tapping the wall as well that is a problem.
oh no, looking at Adam, he's really going full tilt. I was just going to make a comment about how he was really giving it the beans, but it looks like he's just overstepped a little bit. So, you know, like Simon, you know, he'll just have to reset, treat this one as another outlap, go again. But yeah, that's some of these guys, man. I mean, they are just so everyone wants to knock McEwen off the perch, right?
Absolutely. The bragging rights of being able to get one over McEwen are huge, and it's not easily done. We've seen Reese come so close in the Alsace race. Last week, of course, Scotty Ray came so close in both races, really. He had opportunity, as McEwen might have gone a bit deep there. Man, they look loose over the top of the mountain, don't they? Just trying to get that thing slowed down on the downhill. It was unstable. Brings it back together.
Well, it's that transitional period, right, where you go from going up a mountain to down the mountain. Everything goes light, everything goes it becomes a dance, doesn't it? And yeah, I just noticed too, it looks like McEwen's just running the default, just the factory paint scheme. He hasn't got a livery, he hasn't got a design. Maybe he should have hit up Simon Bishop. I'm sure Simon would have given him a livery if he'd asked nicely, but you know, that's all good. It's we'll worry about that one a bit later. It looks like Lewis might have called it quits too, by the way. He's sitting in the pits, and before long, I don't think he's going to have much time to go out and do an outlap and do another lap.
No, absolutely. We're down to just 10 seconds left to go, but you will be allowed to finish your lap if you are on a lap. One driver who needs the lap, though, is Simon Bishop with that livery. We saw him make a mistake on the first lap. On the second one, he also was slow. He's currently down in 10th at the back of the pack. This is Simon now as we go to him. He needs to put this lap together. It looks like he's on a good one, but can he put it together? The pressure is really on at the end of qualifying here. We have crossed the 10-minute mark. He's not going to get another opportunity. This is the championship fight. He wants to be amongst it. He wants to be up there with McEwen. What can he do with this run to the line? Simon Bishop qualifying. He gets into second. 0.04 this time. It's close, but it's not quite enough for pole.
And we were just talking about that earlier, right? About how it's always the last. It's down to the line. The last available second is when these guys make the jumps. And I mean, he's provisionally second. You know, there's still time for anyone else to knock him off the perch. There's still time for anyone else to knock McEwen off the perch. But unbelievable lap from Simon, and you know, we know he can do the one shot, you know, one lap magic when it counts. So as we watch on board Scotty Ray, of course, don't need to keep talking about how hard he had it last round. Some say he still has nightmares about that night, but let's see what he can do here. He's on a 15.1, so he's 0.4 off McEwen. Just gorgeous looking car, isn't it? And there's been some chatter in the Discord about how good those cars look. He does put together. Some of these guys, they're just very artistic as well as being very talented behind the wheel. What can he do? 15.1 becomes 15 flat. So that's enough for third. That's enough for third, but it's not enough to. He's still 2/10 off Bishop. Supra's calling it quits. Who else is on a lap? Ben. So we've got Ben Groves. He's on a 2:16.3. A little crossed up coming out, and see, this is the thing, right? When you have a sports car, it's all really feels fast, but then you remember it's only got road car handling, it's got road car suspension, road car brakes. You see Clanfever's gone quicker, 17.0, so that's good for 9th. What can Sly Ben do? 16.3 becomes, come on Ben, a 15.9, so he leapfrogs Lewis, who's of course still in the pit lane, and I think that's everybody. Matthew?
I believe you are right. So it is going to be McEwen on pole with that 14.6, ahead of Simon Bishop by the smallest of margins. Scotty Ray in third, Dive Cable in fourth. So it's all the championship protagonists able to pick up the top positions heading into race number 1. We've got 12 laps of Bathurst coming up shortly as the results do just get confirmed for us, and we'll get a look at the full rundown of what we've got. There it is. So there, confirmation. McEwen out in front, ahead of Simon Bishop, ahead of Scotty Ray. Dive Cable in fourth. That's Gareth Collier, of course. Supra in fifth. Sly Ben the Cat in sixth. Lewis will be starting out of seventh. He called it early. Maybe we'll be regretting that decision. Would have wanted to improve at the end there as the drivers around him did improve. Crimson in eighth position. And I believe we have Clan Fever and Adam rounding out the field. So Tom a little bit off the pace tonight. See what he can do from the back.
Yeah, certainly right. Well, I mean, again, we've mentioned how dangerous Bathurst can be. Maybe the back's not the worst place to start a race, because if there's chaos in the front, in the mid pack, you get plenty more notice to sidestep any striking cars, don't you? So, look, it's still anyone's game, and motorsports, mate. Once that green flag drops, the unscripted drama that follows is what keeps people watching, and it's going to be a cracker.
Yeah, we've got 10 cars lining up for 12 laps of Bathurst. What are we expecting from this one? Is it going to be difficult to I think it might be a little bit difficult to overtake, particularly over the mountain. But what do you make of this track and these cars, Nathan?
Oh, look, it's definitely going to be tricky to overtake, but it's not impossible. Just gonna have to see what happens, Matt.
And here we go then, the race is getting underway. Race one of the night here at Bathurst. Lights go out and we are racing. Simon Bishop and McEwen off the front row. Who's going to be bravest down into Hell Corner? Already up the inside. Oh, Scotty was looking for an opportunity. He got a jump off row two. Gareth dropping back a little bit. They're going to continue side by side down the mountain straight. Who's going to get the run down into turn number one? Top two in the championship, top two on the track. They're going to have to fight it out. Scotty Ray will be liking this. He's getting the slipstream in the background, but he's not really close enough to be part of it. Down the inside, is it going to be Simon Bishop's line to try and take the lead ahead of McEwen? You want to do it early against McEwen, otherwise he's going to get away, and he does. Simon Bishop up ahead, and it looks like Scotty might be trying to capitalize on that move. He is going to get the space, so McEwen's down two into third.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, it's one line up the mountain. I don't think you're going to get any overtakes on the way up. So Scotty's basically secured his real estate until we get down to the chase. So he's going to be really glad he took that one when he had the chance. McEwen, in the meanwhile, I mean, he's just going to be loathing that because, again, nothing he can do about. Oh, we've got problems at the back. Was that a car gone round? I think.
I think we've lost Sly Ben the Cat. We've lost Ben Groves. He's had a big spin. So disaster there on lap number one. I was just going to say how they were getting through there reasonably nicely. It looks like he's had a problem with Tom there, who is having a second moment and having a bit of a spin. So not what you want to see over the top of the hill. The front drivers get through cleanly, but a battle in the mid-pack comes unstuck. Oh, as Scotty Ray almost comes unstuck. The tyres did not have any grip in that particular moment. Sideways down towards Forest Elbow.
Yeah, these guys aren't afraid to get a little crossed up, especially, like you say, the downhill when everything goes nice and light. It's easy to sort of forget that actually it's still got a bit of a wallow in the suspension. You know, they're not quite as tight as the GT3 cars, but what do we got now? 0.4 to Simon, 0.5 back to McEwen. So Scotty's he's got a bit of breathing room. He's not under immediate assault as we come down into the chase for the first time of 12. And I mean, where do you look? He's going to be looking ahead to try and take a move on Simon. He's going to be looking in the rear view because he knows McEwen's not going to ask twice. Dive Cable, in the meanwhile, he's got, you know, a pretty good view of the action. He's got a front row seat, and I mean, everyone else, pretty clean start. I mean, besides obviously Ben and Atom, which, I'm not quite sure what happened there. I saw Ben had a very terrible launch. Like, he just went nowhere off the line, so he dropped down immediately. Everyone else doesn't look like there's too much to write home from, as Simon's now 4/10. But of course, Scotty Ray down Mountain Straight, he's going to have to slip. McEwen actually looks like he's dropping back a little bit, 0.7, and you know, not far off, but certainly not. I don't think we're going to see any moves for the overtake. As Scotty Ray, he's just happy to sit back. He knows there's still 11 laps of Bathurst, so you know he doesn't need as long as he's there or thereabouts. He won't need to pull any desperate moves just yet.
I think it's also the case of this track, right? If you can't get the move done down the bottom of the hill, once you get into this section, it really is line astern, one car width racing line through here. Look how close they get up to the walls. I'll get close on the right here as well. Yep, slide it out. So it's hard to get the move done, and so I think he's just resigned himself. This lap hasn't got the overtake done on the first couple of corners. Now he wants to get a nice run over the top, stay close, so he can try and get a move maybe done down the bottom of the hill or into the next lap.
Well, that's absolutely it. I mean, as long as you can keep the lines clean, keep it off the wall, keep it out of trouble, you really don't have to worry about, oh, Scotty's got a penalty.
That's the corner I was talking about. At the dipper, you think you can go right up to the wall, but you can't. The game says no if you get too close. 1 second penalty, that's going to be brutal as they come up to the penalty line on the Conrod straight. So it's going to be up here. He's going to be serving it immediately. McEwen's going to go flying by. We'll keep an eye on just how much time does Scotty lose. So here comes McEwen going past Scotty. There it is. There's the speed difference. Should get away with just losing one spot here, but look, the whole way down the rest of the straight, he's down on speed. Losing time, how much does he end up? Can he defend ahead of Gareth? He's just going to slot into third in the end.
Okay, so that's not quite as dramatic as that could have been. I mean, obviously we're still gutted for Scotty. Who's that going for a bit of a slide? Lewis. Oh no, he gets cleaned up. Oh, that's that's a rough one, man. That's just sometimes the chase, man. The chase bites, and everyone talks about Bathurst. You know, the mountain bites and the mountain chooses. But that was a truly wild ride. But anyway, Simon Bishop, he's now got 1.2 seconds, so he's good. He's happy. Like we said, he can just keep punching out those lines, and as long as he doesn't go picking up any more penalties or turning it round and getting collected by other cars, he's pretty good for the here and the now. McEwen's just behind. Scotty Ray, Dive Cable, Supra are your top 5. Matthew, we're only on lap 3, mate.
There's so many hot spots to keep an eye on this track, isn't there? I mean, Lewis down at the cutting, or down the chase, sorry, having that moment. He actually made the mistake by himself, went off the road. It was the rejoin where it really came unstuck. The car behind him collected him into the fence. So, yeah, just not what you want to see. And the penalties as well, surprisingly. There's been a couple of drivers now. That's Clan Fever with half a second penalty. And he's going to lose a spot as well because he's got Crimson for company right on his tail. And, you know, they really just have to be on it around this track. There's so many different corners that can catch you out.
Yeah, it's... doesn't look good for Clan staying 6th place at the moment. The thing about Bathurst too, the thing about the rich history and heritage that this track has, every single corner, every single crash, there's probably a V8 Supercars crash that you can compare it to. So yeah, it's hard work in the office for Clan. He's when you got a penalty like that, your priority immediately becomes try and get as much gap as you can, because you just want to lessen the blow. I mean, obviously it looks like he's going to have to surrender this one to Crimson, but if he can stay ahead of Lewis, I think that's probably going to be his goal, right? And obviously the drivers have already talked previously about the rules around blocking and around weaving on the straights, which, you know, if you're trying to save a spot, you might try that sort of thing. But obviously we've clarified since that excess weaving can be subject to a penalty. Did he not lose a spot?
He's trying to hang on to it here. He's trying to defend, and he might get away with it. So that half-second penalty, you were talking about trying to pull the gap to lessen the damage. Oh, Lewis goes round in the background, so it's gone from bad to worse for Lewis. Spins up the wheels, gets it back in the right direction. That actually might be a hectic moment, contender, because he spun it right round for the 360, and he's carried on. He might not even lose a spot there as he had a gap behind him.
A bit of showmanship, you know, that's what it's all about, right? Entertainment. If you can't win the race, entertain the crowd. But yeah, no, that is wild. I can't believe Clan stayed ahead. I thought he was only like 0.6 or 0.7 off away from Crimson. I thought for sure he'd get eaten up, but just goes to show the difference between those half-a-second penalties and those 1 second penalties, right? Mm-hmm. That can be all the difference. The penalties, of course, being how long the car is auto-slowed down. It's not you're going to lose half a second or 1 second. It's the car's going to be on the brakes for that long. As we watch McEwen throwing it on, he's chipping away at that gap. It was 1.5, now it's 1.0. So he's just, it's like watching Jaws. He's just slowly inching towards, slowly taking bites out of it, and you know, at some point soon. And in fact, there's the man himself. There's the maestro at work. Just look at his face. He's just so... doesn't give anything away, does he?
No, he's focused, isn't he? And yeah, he's just got his eyes on the road ahead of him, knows what he needs to do. He's done the laps, he's done the practice, done the homework. We know he's an expert. He's got the ability. It's just about putting pedal to the metal and executing in the moment. And it looks like he's not going to let anything distract him. Focused on the job at hand, focused on chasing down Simon Bishop for the lead of this race. He was handed second place after that sort of slower start. The other two drivers getting the jump, And I wonder if a bit of that is thinking about the championship. He knows that he needs to get through these races cleanly. He can't afford to get tangled up in a battle, fighting too hard early on. And he knows that he has the ability to fight back later in the race, even if he does lose a couple of spots.
Well, that's the thing, right? When you've got 6 race wins from 8 races run, I mean, you can afford to not care, but just it doesn't phase you as much. You sort of know that, all right, I've got a bit of a buffer. It's not gonna, he's not gonna lose too much sleep over it if something does happen. But at the same time, he's a race car driver. His job is to be faster than the other guys. So, like you say, we're just starting lap 5 now. So he's, we're coming up to halfway, mate. Halfway, it's already flowing through. We've got plenty of hectic moments to fill up the next week's worth of content. But yeah, and don't forget about Dive Cable either. I mean, he's sitting there as the one. He's got the front row seat. Anything goes wrong, he stands to gain. Meanwhile, Clan Fever looks like he's becoming under assault from Crimson, and of course Crimson would have seen that penalty that he served earlier, and he's probably a bit less than chipper that he didn't get the spot, because when a car in front of you gets penalised, your first thought is, I've got him. I've got this. So he won't be asking nicely. Let's put it that way. When an opportunity does present itself, I don't think you'll find many of these guys, excuse me, may I pass you?
No, absolutely right. They're gonna go for it and try and find the spot and try and find an opening or create an opening potentially. Crikey, a little bit of banging doors as they come together. Crimson now on the outside. Can they try and resolve this one? They do. Crimson gets through. Questionable move there, as there was certainly contact between them. And just as you were saying, they're going to get feisty. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I think Clan could have. He probably could have forced the issue, but then he probably would have murdered both of them in doing so. So he's had a bit of self-preservation and thought, you know what, I'll let you win this one. But well, the gauntlet's been thrown down, right? If that's how it's going to be, then bring it on.
And there he is. Look at him wrestling that car over the top of the mountain. It's a lot of work to try and keep these things under control, get them going in the right direction. So many corrections going on, especially down this hill where the car does go light. And you've got those close walls that you're trying to navigate. Now it's going to be Clan Fever's turn to find out how much slipstream you do get down this straight. Is there much benefit to it? Can he pull back up in behind Crimson now?
Just looking at them fly down. This is the fastest straight in Oceania Motorsport, and I mean, you mentioned it at the start. These things are sports cars, but they just don't have the brakes. They just don't have the speed. See, speaking of the speed, though, Matthew, what do you reckon they're doing down Conrad? Because this question gets asked every time. The supercars, Mark Scaife would have you believe they all do 300. So what do you reckon the Supras are doing down Conrad?
300's the benchmark. I think we're a few kilometers down on that, so it might be 250, 260. Are they getting up to that sort of speed? Is a little bit of sideways battle. They're going to be a little bit slower up Forest Straight, not quite. After Mountain Straight, it's not quite as long, is it? And side by side, this is going to be a test. The cars do look a little bit different there. They've got the wing on the rear of Clan Fever's car, but it is balance to performance turned on, so they are equal performance. The drag race is just based on the exit out of the previous corner. Going to continue side by side.
Clan does well. It looks like Clan's got the advantage going into the uphill, which problem is he knows that Crimson can and probably will force the issue again if an opportunity does arrive. Of course, we'll have to wait and see if there are any stewards inquiries to answer for that one. But for the here and the now, it looks like Clan's gotten ahead, and I mean half a second gap. So I think he can breathe again. Most of these guys are just wanting to survive, and of course every point counts, especially when the mid pack is as tight as it is as far as overall standings. So we'll pay attention to the top speeds going down Conrad this time. Maybe Matt, if you can do a bit of roving pit reporting for us, and maybe how cool is it to see just how effortless. Actually, was that Crimson just getting it wrong just before we cut away from him? I think he just got the dipper wrong, but anyway, nevertheless, here's the man to watch at the moment. Simon Bishop setting a purple sector just as we cut to him too, so that's pretty hands-on as we see, what's that, 272?
270, yeah, so they are flying down there. Plenty of pace still, even in the road spec version of these Supras. 382 brake horsepower. good for 300 or 270 kilometers an hour.
That's wild. And yeah, like you say, 380 horsepower. This is the 2020 spec. The 2019 spec is also in the game, the sort of earlier in the production run. That was only like 340 horsepower, I think, or 335. So the very next year they thought, we should crank up the boost a little bit, and they gave it 380. So yeah, that's what we're running today. If anyone was driving the 2019 Supra by mistake, well, they would be at a very, very significant disadvantage, wouldn't they, Matt? But you know that Bishop and McEwen are definitely running as much horsepower as they possibly can. They're squeezing everything out of those cars, aren't they? And I mean, how different does it look? You look at McEwen and he's just calm, collected. He could be driving to the shops, but meanwhile, Crimson, he was just desperately sawing at the wheel. He was doing a bit of the Sunny Haze. It's just the wheel work, but it's just all the different styles, all the different approaches. Everyone has the way that they approach sim racing, or their little pre-race rituals, or it's those sorts of quirks that make it such a cool competition to see, right? All the different backgrounds and walks of life coming together to compete. And I mean, this championship's just been such a cracker. And I mean, even the single race, I mean, Scotty Ray has not fallen off yet, so definitely we'll see what McEwen goes purple sector. So he's definitely making his intentions very clear. He wants to make it a 7th win.
Absolutely, continuing to push here on lap 7 out of 12. The race is 1 times tyre wear, 1 times fuel. So on these sports softs and with these Supra fuel tanks, we're not expecting, well, they don't need, I can't confirm, any pit stops. So there's just a straight sprint race for 12 laps. There is a very small amount of tyre wear going onto those sports softs, but obviously still able to get a lot of performance out of them. As McEwen setting those purple sectors. And this is Lewis trying to recover after an earlier moment. Slide Ben Leclerc actually was up, so that's Ben Groves. He was ahead of Lewis earlier on the lap, but he made a mistake, on the last lap he made the mistake, and has dropped back again. So trying to have these recovery drives from earlier mistakes, and maybe pushing a little bit too hard, and continuing to have problems. Lewis,
a bit of bump
drafting down the straight. There you go.
Oh, that can get very ugly very quickly if you're not careful. So he's going to want to make sure that he throws on the brakes possibly a little bit earlier than he would have, because it looks like he's done it nice and clean. Going for the matte black finish. These Hooncorp cars for this round.
Yeah, there we go. The matte black, the grey in behind of Slide Ben Leclerc. The two teammates coming close again. Of course, we've seen them come close in previous rounds. And Nathan, as Hooncorp owner, have you given them a word about fighting each other, or are they free to go for it?
I think they call it papaya rules or something, but no, look, these guys are free to do what they want. Obviously not quite where I'd want to be seeing them, 8th, 9th and 10th, but look, obviously Ben had a bit of a rough start, and Lewis has already had more spins than a carousel, so again, this is part of the appeal of some of this particular championship, right, is that you can have a shocker of a race. You've still got one more to go later on in the night, so they can reset and go again. But for the here and the now, I mean, obviously, they are still there or thereabouts. We're far from over. They could still gain a few spots left, but as far as team orders, there are none. It's every man for himself.
Yep, I think that's been demonstrated in earlier rounds where they've sort of come to blows, had really good battles actually, some of the Hooncorp guys out on track. I am just you're talking about points on offer. They're even in 10th position today. There are points up for grabs. We are missing a few drivers, unfortunately. So Philip Smith and Alex Little are unfortunately out of the rest of the championship. They've had different circumstances getting in the way for them, and we are also missing Matthew Budd and Reese Davidson tonight. So 4 drivers down tonight means that the 10 that we do have will all be picking up points. So there are points on offer. This could be an opportunity for some of those drivers in that midfield pack to really make an impact and try and get a little boost in their championship towards the end of the series.
Absolutely right, and I mean that makes it worth sticking around, right? Even if you've had a nightmare of a race, you still get some points towards the effort. And a lot of these guys, not that these are the sorts of guys that would go rage quitting if they had one bad race, but by the same token, it just further, I mean, like you say, it's unfortunate to be missing guys in the first place, but the fact that you can finish dead last out of this field and still be scoring points, that's got to be a motivator, right? So lap 9 now, and looks like McEwen is not quite. Looks like the chipping away sort of come to a bit of a stall. It was 0.5, it's now 0.6, so he's he's just still sitting there or thereabouts. And I don't know, do you think he's trying, Matt? Do you think he's really pushing for a pass, or is he just happy to sit back, let the laps tick by, and then maybe in the last 2 or 3 he'll start actually trying?
Yeah, well, we'll see, but I think he's definitely close enough now to be putting that pressure on Simon Bishop and really letting him know that he's there, showing up in the mirrors and making sure that Bishop has no room for any mistakes. He can't afford to ease off any of these laps here because McEwen is right there to pounce if he's given even a sniff. 2 of the best drivers in the country, undoubtedly 2 of the best Gran Turismo drivers in the world, in fact, both of them having competed overseas as teammates representing New Zealand at times as well, so they're well familiar with each other. We've seen them racing against each other plenty of times in this championship as well. They know what's on the line. I think that McEwen will have a lot of respect for Simon here. He's not expecting to see any sort of mistakes. He knows he really has to put a torch to him to try and make anything happen, to try and make a pass. They get really close to the inside line through the dipper, so they must have worked out what they can get away with there. McEwen, I'm surprised that he hasn't picked up a penalty for that, because he was right up 2 wheels over that grass and really trying to be aggressive. I think that's the answer to the question. He is pushing. He is trying to be aggressive. Little tap of the wall there might slow him down the straight, but I think he really wants to go for this. And in fact, look, he's lost quite a few car lengths as a result of that.
Yeah, that cost him a fair bit. He was like 0.6, nearly 0.5. He's now 0.8. Yeah, I mean, you talked about the penalties and the lines and him knowing exactly where to put the car. Matthew McEwen is meticulous. He will research. He will do his homework. He knows exactly where he can put the car and not a millimetre more to not get penalised. And yeah, that's. I mean, look, if you're going to go pro in any sport, any sim platform, you need to know the nuances of the game, right? You need to know where the penalty lines are. You need to know how to play the game, right? It sounds dumb when you say it out loud, but he needs to know how to play Gran Turismo 7 if he's going to be one of the best. And I mean, you're seeing it now. How many guys have gotten penalties this race? And, you know, McEwen's using basically the same lines, but because he's a pixel wider, a pixel tighter, he escapes penalty. So, yeah, no, look, he'll be ruining the Conrod Straight slowdown, but no, he's still game on. We have 3 laps to go.
Absolutely right. He will have done all the homework to know all the details. He'll know exactly what the dirty air he's dealing with up over that mountain. He knows the slipstream difference that's going to make down the straight. Even the wind difference, you know, there's 2.3 meters a second of wind coming across the track at the moment. You can see that in the top right under the track map. That definitely plays a role on these cars, and we've heard McEwen talk about that in previous rounds as well, when the wind can change throughout the race, and that will affect how the cars handle through certain corners, and you have to be able to adjust to that as the race progresses. Keep an eye on it as it goes to make sure that you're absolutely getting the maximum out of these cars. And it's not something that makes a huge difference, but when you're dealing at the level that they are, where they're trying to extract every little bit of performance out of the cars, then that definitely becomes a big factor. A big factor by comparison to some of the other small changes that you can make.
Yeah. Look, you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, I don't think a street car would be as sensitive to wind changes. I know some of the super formulas or the sort of more high downforce cars are probably a bit more sensitive to that sort of thing. But I mean, like you say, if there's a wee little advantage to be gained, Matthew McEwen will be looking for it. And yeah, 2.3 meters a second in the direction of travel. It's not like they're getting a tailwind down Conrad or anything. So we just see them launching into the chase. 0.3 of a second to Cy Bishop. So he is the battle is on for the win. He is not going to want to give up without giving it everything he possibly could. And I mean, are we going to see a move into Murray's corner, Matt? We've got 2 laps to go this time round, so he's running out of mileage to make a move stick. And I mean, Mount Panorama by definition does not have many overtaking opportunities. He's certainly he's just gone fastest lap too, 15.4. So that should sort of signal some intent. And Simon Bishop would have seen that. I mean, he's already got a mirror full of nice bright blue Toyota Supra, but seeing the fastest lap come up that it's Matthew McEwen, there's got to be a little bit disheartening, right?
I mean, he's not looking too much at the fastest laps, right? He's looking at how close he is in the mirrors. It's totally a matter of car lengths with only 2 laps left to go. If you're thinking the big picture in terms of the championship as well, Simon needs to be finishing ahead of McEwen in these races to keep that alive and to send the championship to the final round next week. So this is a big moment for can Simon Bishop hang on for these final 2 laps. He should be able to do it if he can get away with not making any mistakes, but man, McEwen is applying that pressure, isn't he? He looks so quick. He looks stable. He's right on the limit so many times. It looks like it could go wrong at any moment. They've got a 4-second buffer to the next car behind them, so they've got a bit of space. He can afford to risk it just that little bit more. If he does make a mistake, he should still be able to hang on to second place, but he does not want to settle for second place. McEwen wants to go and take another win. He wants to win this championship in dominant fashion, and this is an opportunity to make one more step closer to that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. He is putting the blowtorch on the back of that M&M's side Bishop liveried Supra, which, again, spare a thought for poor George Cook, who's unable to see it. And, you know, I know he wishes he could see the magnificence that is Cy Bishop's livery, but, you know, unfortunately, we'll take a photo afterwards and we'll send it his way. But here we go. Down the chase. Down the chase for the penultimate time. Matthew McEwen, 0.5 of a second, so he's not going to be able to get away with any dive bombs just yet. But again, all he can do is make his presence known. I'm surprised he's not flashing his headlights or honking his horn or doing anything he can try to do to just to get in Simon's head, right? And we've seen these guys, you know, they'll try a bit of gamesmanship like that. They'll chuck the hazards on, or they'll try whatever they can do as we go last lap. So we've got 6.2 kilometers of Mount Panorama left. Actually, Simon just retook the fastest lap too, a 15.4. So, I'm sorry, a 15.41. It was a 15.49. Now it's a 15.41. So these two guys, man, they are just absolutely playing for game. Don't forget about the rest of them too. Scotty Ray is sitting back there. He's hoping, he's praying that these guys take each other out or do something, because he still stands to gain if it goes pear-shaped for any of these guys. And I mean, what more can we say, mate? May as well just watch on board from McEwen, because this is cracking racing. This is better than any of the sort of stuff you see in the FIAs these days. Well, I don't call it the FIAs anymore, do they? But I mean, you can't script this sort of like conclusion to a motorsports race. So we see 140 Ks. These concrete walls are just inches, and I mean, again, McEwen, he's meticulous. He knows exactly where to put the car, and yeah, this is just like I'm watching, I'm waiting, I'm just, who knows what's going to happen.
Well, again, it was a purple first corner. They are pushing each other to go faster, pushing each other harder and harder. Purple through the second sector as well. It could be fastest lap on the final lap. That's how hard they have to go. That's how much they're having to work for this win. McEwen still within touching distance. He's still right there. There could be an opportunity at the chase. It's going to be about the exit here, I think. There's only a couple of opportunities left in the lap, and Simon gets a good run down the straight. That might be enough to hang on at least for the next couple of corners. There could be one more chance into the final corner of the lap. 12 laps of Bathurst, and it's going to come down to the final few corners. Again, they're going purple through sector 3. It's the fastest they've been throughout the race as the tyre wear starts to creep up a little bit. It's definitely going to be playing a factor. Plays a factor there. Simon's loose. Simon's gone wide. He's had a moment at the chase, and he's lost the spot. McEwen slips through. We talked about him waiting for a little bit of a mistake, and that's it. With 2 corners left to go, Simon misses out. It's going to be another win to Matthew McEwen as he takes race number 9 in the series. Simon Bishop came so close to getting the win. He led the entire race, but with 2 corners to go, makes the mistake, and that is the difference between the top 2.
Simon will be ropeable. He's not impressed when it gets cruelly ripped away on the second to last corner. I mean, how deflating would that be? How gutting? And I don't know. How do you even begin to sort of he just made a mistake on his own. It wasn't like McEwen nudged him, or it wasn't like, you know, there was no, that could have been so much worse, but by the same token, that could have been so much better. It's yeah, what a conclusion. Who saw that one coming? Ooh. Matthew McEwen, 7 race wins. Oh, do you need a breath, Matt? That was.
Yeah, I mean, he applied the pressure for lap after lap at the end there, and eventually it came through. Eventually, Simon cracked, and Matthew was able to just slip on past. He went down to third position after the first couple of corners. He looked like he had a lot of work to do, but he came back and right at the last minute was able to do enough to finish the race in the lead. And look at the best lap times as well, how close it was between those front two. I think we were talking about 0.004 in qualifying, and now we've got 0.004 in the race. Mega job from the front two. I mean, Simon can be proud of his pace as well to be taking that fight there. Scotty Ray came home in third, and it was a reasonably quiet one for him after that first lap and after losing out to McEwen later on. And he just tucked away, did his work, put his head down, gets on the podium for his efforts, so a nice drive there. Gareth Collier in fourth, that is Dive Cable. Supra in fifth. Again, he jumps in the Supra and he goes well. There he is, up in fifth position. Nice job there. Ben Groves recovered to sixth after that drama on the first lap. We saw the big crash, so that's a nice recovery effort. Still managed to pick up a few points as a result of that, finishing ahead of Hooncorp teammate Lewis, and then Clan Fever in eighth position, managing to finish in the end ahead of Crimson when we saw those two in that big battle. Before Adam at the rear of the field, he'd had dramas in that race, finishes that in 10th.
Mate, awesome result for Scotty Ray. I mean, again, he could have done better. He had another oopsie, but to still come away with a podium, that's got to be some solace for him. And like we said, we were talking about this right at the start of the stream, mate. You can have a nightmare of a first race, and now we wipe the slate clean. Now we go to a completely another race. Both races, they award the same points. It's not like the sprint does half points and the feature does double. They're both like the same amount of points. So now they've got to reset. They've got to have a drink. They've got to stretch. They've got to do whatever they got to do to get back in the zone, because we're about to go racing at Mount Fuji in the Lexus RCF Group 2. Completely different car, completely different behavior, completely different everything. The only thing that Fuji and Bathurst have common is they both got a long ass straight.
Absolutely right, they do. And there's a lot of differences though, isn't there? We've had the sprint race of race number 1, and that produced some good action, came down to the wire. Now we're going into race 2 with a bit of strategy that comes into it as well. So that's certainly going to be playing a role, and one that we're going to want to keep an eye on and come back for, as we are going to a quick break before we do. But make sure you get those snacks, come back and tune in to race number 2. It's going to be all on again. Well then, we've had a moment to catch our breath after that dramatic finish in race number 1. McEwen just coming home with a few corners left to go, getting past Simon Bishop, making that mistake. We're certainly all on, and now we're getting set for a second race here in the GT New Zealand Championship. It's the Lexus RCF Group 2 cars taking on Fuji. So we've gone from the sort of the road spec Supra to now full race spec Group 2. Nathan, it's quite a big change and quite a challenge for these drivers that we throw at them, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly right. To go from a road legal, get a waft from VTNZ type street car to a Group 2 car. GT500 cars, Matt, they sort of straddle that fine line, don't they, between GT3 and like prototype. They're not, you can't really call them production, but you certainly can't call them prototype. They are rapidly quick. And of course, Mount Fuji, that is a rapidly quick track. So yeah, I don't think we could get more radically different tracks from each other, frankly, or races.
Yeah, absolutely right. The GT500, of course, built for the Super GT Championship over in Japan. So we do see these cars racing at Fuji in the real world, and we've reproduced that here tonight. And we've got a bit of strategy in the mix. So the racing mediums and the racing softs, but the softs are the required tire, when we do get to the race. So that's going to be an interesting challenge, because 4 times tire wear, 3 times fuel consumption. We are going to see pit stops, at least 1 to get on enough fuel to get to the end, but maybe we'll see 2 if they want to run that soft tire throughout and they're not particularly strong on their tires. We won't be worrying about tires in qualifying though. Tire wear is turned off as we head into 10 minutes of qualifying at Fuji. And all the drivers getting themselves out on that outlap now, trying to find track space before we get going. 10 minutes. They're going to get a few laps in here, as we are seeing lap times around the 1 minute 30. Well, they're going to be a little bit quicker than 1 minute 30 around here. So a shorter lap than Bathurst gives them more opportunity to set laps in the qualifying session.
Yeah, absolutely right there, Matt. And a little bit of track spot trivia there for you. If you're looking at some of the Lexuses and you're thinking those rear wings are pretty massive, they're not normally that big. Granted, the GT Auto has an alternate rear wing that is wider and bigger than the factory rear wing. That's actually a special configuration that they only run at Fuji. I think it's because of the long straight, and obviously when you have a long, wide, fast straight like that, the aerodynamics kind of get a bit. I mean, we just saw that recently with Igor Fraga, had that horror crash where he went airborne, right? So yeah, they do have this alternate rear wing. So for the drivers that perhaps are a bit more clued up on their Super GT lore, they would have put that rear wing on. And obviously, again, because balance of performance in effect, it doesn't actually affect the cars performance-wise, but just a little bit of a visual detail to fit into the Mount Fuji theme tonight.
Yeah, and it's fitting actually that you bring up Igor Fraga, because he's a past Gran Turismo world champion, isn't he? And he went on to race in the Super GT series. I was just having a moment there of where Adam was on track, but Igor Fraga proving the pathway of when you're good in the sim, you can be good in the real thing as well. He's plenty quick, as I say, world champion, and he's made that pathway that we're somewhat recreating here in the GT New Zealand Championship, where we do have our champion heading into the real car in the Toyota 86.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, and it's a narrative that you're seeing more and more often, right? I mean, Jan Mardenborough, right? Sort of with the Gran Turismo movie. If you haven't seen the Gran Turismo movie, definitely give it a watch. It is an awesome story. But then, yeah, Igor Fraga and all these other guys who are starting to get noticed. Sim racing's rapidly picking up credibility as a breeding ground and somewhere to look if you're after some talent that that know their way around a race car, because sim racing's kind of got a bit of a unique side to it, right? If you're playing PGA, you're not actually hitting golf balls. If you're playing NBA, you're not actually dribbling the basketballs. But sim racing, you are actually, I mean, assuming you're on a wheel, of course, steering the wheel and using the pedals. You don't get that with other sports sims. So, yeah, no, it's definitely, we're living in a pretty cool time for sim racing, Matt.
Absolutely right. I certainly believe in that, and I love to see it continue to push forward. So we see the first times now coming in for the qualifying session. Adam there setting a great benchmark, the 26.8. One of the interesting things I've noticed is McEwen did his usual trick of going out late in qualifying, so he's going to be one of the last drivers across the line to set his first flying lap. But Simon Bishop actually waited even longer than McEwen, and it's gone out behind McEwen here. So Simon Bishop maybe keeping an eye on McEwen's tricks and following him out in this qualifying session. So there is Simon. We just saw McEwen go past now, heading towards that start-finish line. He crosses the line. McEwen goes top of the board, 1/10 ahead of Adam. Here's Simon's time, follows him along up the leaderboard as well. It's McEwen and Simon at the pointy end as they set their first flying laps there, and the battle may be resuming in race number 2.
Yeah, now this is an interesting choice from McEwen, because if there was ever a track that you wanted a bit of slipstream, it would definitely be Mount Fuji. But, look, his strategy definitely seems to be working out. He doesn't need any aerodynamic aid. He's Matthew McEwen. He's the gold standard. He's the one everyone wants to knock off the perch. As you see, Adam, what can he respond? No, he doesn't quite go quicker that time. But, of course, this is only about minute 26 laps instead of 2 minute 14. So they might squeak an extra lap in there if they're quick about it.
Absolutely right. We're 4 minutes 40 into this qualifying session, and they're already seeing some of these drivers come across the line for the second lap here, the second flying lap, that is, of course. Trying to keep an eye on who can improve. So at the moment, it's McEwen ahead of Bishop, ahead of Adam in third. So much stronger looking in these race cars than he was in race number 1. Struggling a little bit in the Supras, but Adam looking comfortable now as we get into the Group 2s. Dive Cable there, we're looking at him. As we jump to Crimson, but Dive Cable was sitting in 4th ahead of Scotty Ray, Ben in 6th, and here is Crimson, the track spot livery, sitting in 7th, and only 1/10. There's small gaps in terms of a 1.5 minute lap. 1/10, 2/10, those are the gaps that they're trying to improve and they're trying to find. Interesting to see McEwen come back to the pits after he set his 26.5. Is that him setting the benchmark and deciding he's done? What's happened there?
I don't know, maybe he's just decided that if anyone goes quicker... No, he's actually doing a full drive-through. He's not just returned to pits, he's actually transited the lane, so he's, like you say, probably leaving it to the very end. These guys seem to like doing that, where they leave it right to the very end of the proceedings and then they go and blitz everybody by a second and a half. So Simon Bishop, he's, do you reckon he's calmed down yet from having his victory cruelly snatched away, or is he still needing a few breathing routines, maybe a nice sip of water to just bring that blood pressure down, mate? What? I still don't know how you're supposed to deal with that sort of loss. I'd just turn the PlayStation off and go to bed. I'd be that mad.
Yeah, certainly it's frustration, and we saw he was frustrated. It's happened previously, so Simon did it. I believe it was the Super Formula round as well. He was running in 2nd and made that mistake all on his own. Absolutely livid. He was so furious with it. He got in and I believe came back and won the next race, and we ended up talking to him at the end of the night's racing, and he mentioned just how frustrated he was. He even sounded frustrated at the end of the night, having done another whole race. So it definitely carries over, but if anyone is going to have the mental strength to just bounce back, drive quick despite the frustration, it's going to be Simon Bishop. This man has all the skills in his toolkit. He knows what he needs to do, and he's able to just go out there and produce quick racing results, even under pressure. The last qualifying session, we saw he only had that last lap to do it because he made mistakes early, but he doesn't crack under that pressure. He manages to hold up, put himself on the front row, and so he's always just got that extra skill set. Like you, I don't know exactly what it is. I don't have that skill set to be able to have that strength to come back, but Simon Bishop is one that really is a benchmark in that area.
Yeah, certainly right. Look at these guys. They're not beating McEwen, but look how close they are getting. Adam, his lap just then was like 0.05 off. And it's so tight at the top. Dive Cable will definitely be wanting to improve. He's half a second from the front guys. And as we see too, awesome sportsmanship too, that these guys, if they're not actively on a lap, do get out of the way, right? It's just a common courtesy, and again, it sounds straightforward, but you'd be surprised. Some people, they treat the qualifying like another race, don't they? So no, it's awesome to see these guys sort of giving each other the room, getting out of the way. Everyone's sort of got their own little bit of space too. I thought we'd see some more slipstream battles, everyone wanting the draft. But let's see, Dive Cable, can he improve? Half a second, 27.0 becomes... No, that was an invalid lap, so he will be making this one the push. And it must give you a bit of anxiety, right? Because as the laps tick down, you've only got a handful of laps. So any mistake, any invalidation, it hurts. It eats into your balance. And speaking of which, he's just gone purple sector, so we might need to check in on him and see how he goes.
Purple first corner for Dive Cable there. Of course, the first sector being particularly short at this track, but he's done a nice job. Big braking zone into turn number 1. It is a critical corner to try and get right, and it's certainly one we're going to be talking about when we get to the race. It is overtaking opportunity down there, as it is that tight hairpin. But as he carries on throughout the lap, he's going to continue to push, and close to his personal best, but just a little bit down. And we are talking about just these small margins that they want to get. As we're on board now with Dive Cable, trying to navigate the final sector of this track.
I always found this last sector the worst of Fuji. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward track as far as the first half, but this last sector in particular, you're so used to the high speed that to have a truly low speed, mechanical grip vector, it throws you off. And yeah, now we see, has he done enough to improve? Such an agonizing wait, because all you can do is keep it flat and go through the gears. He does improve, but it's not enough. He's done a 26.992, so there's still a little meat on the bone left for him to find if he can find it. But yeah, no, I mean, I think Simon Bishop's even argued too that this first sector is the most useless first sector because it's one corner. And once again, not quite purple, but he was 0.01 off, so yeah, just absolute scenes in this qualifying session. It's cool to see Atom, like you say, the fact that we can go from a street car, and obviously he had a bit of a nightmare, to now sitting P3 provisionally. That's the appeal of running two completely different cars, right? Is that if street cars aren't your thing, hop in a Group 2 car. It's that easy.
As we do close out qualifying here, the checkered flag is flying. Drivers finishing their final laps. It's McEwen at the front at the moment. Simon Bishop, I can't spot. There might just be one more driver, two more drivers, in fact, coming to the line. But it looks like it is going to be McEwen ahead of Bishop, Adam in third, Dive Cable and Scotty Ray, it might be, that are just closing out their laps, seeing if they can improve. Sorry, it's not Scotty Ray, but it is Dive Cable trying to improve. McEwen, once again, the benchmark, 3/10 ahead of the field, 26.4. He's absolutely flying out there. And we're seeing as well on the leaderboard the tyre decisions that are going to come into this race. So it looks like McEwen switching to those mediums, preparing himself ready for the race situation where they are going to have to make a strategy call of what tyre they start on.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit of a tactical game, and I think Dive Cable just stole P3 right at the end there, so we'll wait to see the confirmed results. But yeah, it's not often. Usually when you have a race where there's a required tyre compound, typically it'll be the worst tyre compound is the one that you have to put on, but this time it's the fastest, which it's an interesting mix-up because, yeah, you do want to be fast, but by the same token, those softs are not going to do 22 laps, so it does sort of force a bit of pit strategy. Who's going to start on the softs and get them out of the way, and who's going to start on the mediums, which, again, you can do that, but then you're going to have to put those softs on eventually. So, yeah, these guys would have done their homework. So we got, McEwen on top, 26.4, so he's 3/10 clear of everyone else. Cy Bishop second. Dive Cable, he did sneak third, so he denied Atom a front of the second row. Atom, Scotty Ray, Slyben the Cat, Crimson, your top 7, and then Supra, 1.2 off. So, again, quite a bit of 22 laps to go. We've got Lewis and Clan Fever rounding out the top 10, which just happens to be the rest of the grid. Predictions, send them in, let us know who's your money on, and yeah, Matthew, keen to hear your thoughts.
Well, once again, it came down to the last lap in qualifying, didn't it? Dive Cable able to produce at the end in that fiery livery of his, picking up third spot ahead of Adam. You mentioned it there. But once again, it's that championship battle at the front, isn't it? McEwen versus Simon Bishop. And I have to say, we've got the calculations in. If McEwen can finish ahead of Simon Bishop in this race, he will close out the championship as well. 30 points on offer for the 2 races in the final round, and he is currently 29 points ahead of Simon Bishop. So it's close there. It's on the line for McEwen. He wants to try and go for it. He wants to close it out as early as possible, I'm sure. But these other drivers will be fighting to try and get that spot. And I think that's going to make this first corner even more critical for Simon. He knows what's on stake. He knows he wants to get through as we're about to go racing at Fuji for race 10 of the GT New Zealand Championship. It's underway. We are go. And McEwen gets a nice jump to cover Simon off immediately, heading down towards turn 2. Dive Cable as well has got a good run into the background. Can he try and make a position as they're all fighting for second place? But McEwen goes deep. Simon's got back up to the lead and he's gone through. So there we go. Simon has got it even after a little bit of a slower start. He gets a tiny turn 1. McEwen down to P2. Adam up past Gareth. So it all moved around at turn 1 in that big braking zone.
Yeah, certainly right. And McEwen's immediately under attack from Atom, who's immediately under attack from Dive Cable. I mean, everyone's just jostling because they want to you want to make your move early while everyone's nice and close before they all spread out. And of course, there might be a bit of tyre differences playing out too. So, you know, if the guy ahead of you's on the mediums, you know he's compromised, you can try and outgrip him. But yeah, what a hectic start. Clean though. There hasn't been any murders. I'm not going to try and jinx anything just yet. So we see Scotty Ray. He's sitting there nicely in 5th. He's got a bit of breathing room ahead and behind, so he'll be eyes forward and onto the job at hand. But yeah, wow, surprising for McEwen. I don't think anyone. Bit of deja vu from Bathurst. I think the same thing happened about 20 minutes ago, Matthew.
And remarkably, the reason that Simon didn't get off the line as quick as the other cars is Simon's on the medium tyres. The cars behind him are all on the soft. So it's remarkable. He's got into the lead on the harder compound of tyre. And maybe was the soft too cold into turn 1? Something's gone on there because he seemed to capitalise and make the most of it. But is it going to last? Because now the slipstream down the long straight. McEwen's got a bit of a run. Is he close enough? I'm not sure. But Dive Cable's certainly close enough to go for the move in 3rd position. There he is, past Adam. He's ahead. Oh, as they get close, Scotty's in that fight as well. Little battle there going on for 3rd position on the road. Actually, Dive Cable's just pulled a couple of car lengths on corner exit there. Scotty amongst it, tucked in behind as they bounce over those curbs, and these cars get squirrely on the exit.
Yeah, these cars very aero dependent compared to the road car Supra, so they're not going to like getting unsettled. If you do smash the curbs or if you do hit those like really rough bits, it will unsettle the car. And I mean, you can see the dust getting kicked up because they're just finding every inch on those curbs that they possibly can. Definitely one to try and keep it nice and planted. Those we see Scotty Ray throws it up the inside, makes it nice, makes a move. Atom makes it nice and easy for him. Again, so early in the race, it's not worth doing any big Hail Marys, but by the same token, it's a survival thing, right? So looks like we've largely settled the order for here and now. We've got Bishop at the front, McEwen 2nd, Dive Cable 3rd, Scotty Ray and Atom, that's your top 5. Slyby in the car, he's still there. He's happy to take 5th from Atom if the opportunity does arrive. But oh man, what an opening lap. It's definitely one of those ones that just, where do you look, right? Everywhere, up and down, left and right, there's action to be seen.
Absolutely, it's certainly all on. And just confirming, Bishop on the mediums, McEwen, Dive Cable, Scotty, Adam, all on the softs, and then it's Ben Groves who's the next car on the mediums as well. So there's certainly going to be a bit of a difference in terms of the strategy, potentially as well in terms of how hard they're pushing on these opening laps, because those soft tyres, you do want to nurse them a little bit. They are going to wear out much quicker, but you need to try and, if you want to make the one stop work, you need to try and nurse them as long as you can. Get to around lap 9 before you make the pit stop and go onto medium tyres. Or do we see, are these drivers going to try and make it last even longer than that? Are they going to try and get all the way to the halfway point of the race and try and do an even strategy, softs and then softs again in the second half? It'll be tough to do. The front left will certainly be hurting if they do that. But I don't think it's a tyre situation that's brought Lewis into the pits. He's come in very early out of sequence and he might be having a problem there. Might be what stopped him, because that's not an intentional pit stop, I don't think. That's not going to help the race strategy.
No, I think he was having issues last week too, so unfortunate to see him park it in the pits like that. But, you know, sim racing, I mean, real life you have random mechanical failures or engine failures or whatever. Sim racing, sometimes you have hardware failures, so it's just part of the game. It's just part of the sport, unfortunately. But yeah, as you see, Dive Cable 0.8 from McEwen 0.1 from Simon, and I mean, Simon's doing an awesome job keeping McEwen at bay on the medium tyres. And the thing about it, when does he pit? I mean, like you said, the one stop, naturally you try to make that work, but what is the game, and that ability to sort of think about these different strategies, and how do you adjust your strategy as the events of the race unfold, right? And I mean, even now, McEwen very much made his intention clear. I'd like to get past, and Simon's still there. You can't just drive through the car, you have to actually pass him, and Simon's making that Lexus very, very wide.
Simon is claiming turn one. McEwen again down the inside, but he went deep. Simon crossed back to get back into the lead. So McEwen wants to get past, and I think he wants to do it in that tight corner, because through this section where you can see he's lost a couple of car lengths, that sector 2 where they have the wider sweeping corners, it really is hard on the tyres. That's where he'll be thinking about conserving that left front. The left front is going to be the tyre taking the biggest beating, and that's going to be the limiting factor later in this race. So he wants to take it easy through those long right-handers, and that's where he loses a few car lengths. But now trying to close up through the final sector. This corner as well, look, a long right-hander, that's going to hurt the front left. Get it straightened, a little bit loose on the apex, then get the power down on the straight line and try and use that slipstream in behind Simon Bishop. But he's 4/10 back, lost a little bit of time on that lap. Is that close enough? This will be a great view of how much he gains on the straight. It's only a little bit, doesn't seem to be, he's not even using, oh, he's maxing out in 6th gear actually, up to 280 kilometers an hour. These cars only have 6 gears, so on the limit there is Dive Cable actually still close in behind, could be a factor trying to fight for the top 2 spots.
Yeah, Dive Cable was certainly a sight in the mirrors, an unwelcome sight in the mirrors. Last thing you want when you're trying to hunt down someone in front of you is get distracted by someone behind you. And I mean, McEwen's very, very good at eyes forward and focus on the job at hand. But I mean, even I sort of saw him in the mirrors there dancing a bit and go, oh, hang on a minute. And just those momentary lapses in concentration sometimes that can just throw you off. But I mean, he'll be doing everything he can to just target lock on McEwen, on Bishop, sorry, and just block out everything else. He's also got a mind too that he's going to have to put on the medium tyres at some point. So, I mean, what is that?
Well, that's the question, right?
The softs. So Bishop's going to have to put on the softs, so he's going to be faster. But McEwen's already done. He's already checked that box. So when he pits, he could put softs on again if he can make them last.
Absolutely right. That's the decision, and that's the interesting aspect of having this required tyre being the soft tyre. You talked about it early on, where typically you'd see the required tyre being the hard tyre, because that's the tyre that these drivers don't want to touch. But in this particular race, forcing the soft tyre and forcing that strategy decision of how long can you make the soft last? Can you make it last 11 laps? Because I think that's going to be a really tough ask as we are starting lap number 6. I can tell you there's a lot of tyre wear on these drivers who are running the softs. Not quite at the halfway point on that front left, but certainly getting there, and they're really going to continue to hurt as the race progresses. Simon has done a great job to hang on the mediums in the opening laps, really when the soft tyre had the advantage, and now that he has less tyre wear, he's in a strong position out in front of this race, making a different decision to some of these other drivers. But whether that swings around in the second half of the race and the advantage comes back the other way, that's the question that we're going to be keeping an eye on. And that's the joy of these strategy type of races, where it does play a role. Not only do you have to be fast out on track, you have to make the right decisions and pick the right moment to make those pit stops in order to get the most out of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just that ability to think of all of this sort of stuff while you're nailing your racing lines, while you're dealing with the cars around you. I mean, you might remember back on the GT Sport days, some of the tyre strategies, people would come in, do one lap on the required tyre and then get back onto the grippier rubber. That used to be certainly not every race, but certainly more than enough times that even I remember doing it. And just so many things to think about while you're in the office, while you're busy racing. I mean, we're seeing Dive Cable now 0.2 to McEwen, so he's totally within his ability to just throw it right and send it up the inside. Doesn't look like he's going to do that right here, right now, but you never know. You never know what the other guy's thinking. You never know what his intentions are, and that sort of presence of just being there, even just him being right there from McEwen's going to know that he's going to know that he's there.
Absolutely. He'll be checking the mirrors every other corner, making sure that he's still got a bit of a gap to Dive Cable. Dive Cable's not going to be able to send it. It was interesting watching the onboard there of them coming down to the end of the straight. These cars are maxing out down that long straight. So he had the advantage, a little bit of toe to try and close in. But then as the cars maxed out, they sort of run out of advantage and towards that braking zone, makes it hard to get the extra run, get the overlap. And he decided not to go for a big move on that occasion. But I wonder if that's going to be a factor, maybe not being able to, that turn one not being such an easy overtaking opportunity like I was maybe thinking as we were heading into this race.
Yeah, I mean, these, like I said, these Group 2 cars have got so much aero. You know, they have phenomenal cornering speeds, but then the trade-off is, of course, they hit an aero wall when they're going down a straight as long as Fuji. And I mean, even some of the later Super GT cars, they had DRS for a while there, I believe. And, you know, obviously a track like this, DRS would be a most welcome addition, but these are the 2016 cars, so that predates those sorts of innovations. But yeah, I mean, it's just looks the business though, doesn't it? The Lexus is definitely one of the better looking Group 2 race cars, up there with the 2008 Nissan, I reckon. But yeah, definitely Japanese touring cars, eh? They look so distinctively Japanese, and I know that's a wild statement, but just the aero and the shapes and all the different little like winglets and angles, and yeah, what a machine.
Yeah, they're definitely cool to see. And you know, I have to say, this Lexus has really grown on me throughout this championship. We've seen it in the road-going version at Alsace, where Reese came so close to getting him a win over Matt McEwen. We also saw the Group 3 version at the Red Bull Ring. So we've seen this car a few times now, and I have to say, it's really grown on me. And it's one of those occasions where I've started thinking about the Lexus, and now I've started seeing Lexus out, or Lexi, or whatever the...
yeah, what is the plural? Did we ever decide on that?
The plural of the Lexus. I've seen so many Lexi around town now that I've been thinking about about these cars, and it's funny how that always pops up. But yeah, certainly the RCF, it's grown on me. And I learned today as well, or I learned yesterday, a fact about this. The RCF, the F there, is for their sort of race spec, their faster version of the RC Lexus, and the F is a homage to Fuji. So now we're racing these cars at Fuji. It all sort of comes together nicely.
So it's very, very topical, very topical. All right, so we just see Atom just served a half a second penalty, and doesn't look like he's going to lose a spot. So again, with the half a seconds being almost a merciful option. I mean, the game would have given him a penalty for a reason. It doesn't just, you know, it's not like iRacing where you can go and designate penalties for, you know, they looked at you the wrong way. But yeah, I mean, half a second versus 1 second, he hasn't lost a spot. So I think that's the only penalty we've seen so far, unless you count Lewis's mechanical DNF or whatever's gone on there. Yeah, it's cool to see him. You can definitely tell he's a lot more in his element in a touring car or a GT car or whatever you'd classify a Super GT vehicle. He's top 5, pretty comfortably top 5. He's got Ben there for company, and I mean his lap times aren't even that bad. He's just ticking the laps by. We're getting to the point in the race though, Matt, where we might well start to see some pit stops depending on what drivers' game plans are. So again, all that tactical talk and all the strategy that you sort of think about. I mean, it's easy for us. We're sitting here just watching it, calling as we see it, but these guys are having all those thoughts and more while having to obviously stay within Kui lap time wise.
And this is the first look, lap number 9, come to the end of it now, and looks like the front runner's not going to come into the pit. So I was thinking about here, I can see that on the data as well, their tyres are definitely hurting, but choosing to continue on. And it's interesting to watch that on these soft tyres, they've got a really similar pace to Simon on the mediums. So with this tyre wear, with this managing that the soft tyre runners are doing, they're not really getting an advantage by having the grippier compound of tyre. It's actually evening out reasonably well. So it's quite interesting to watch, and certainly we're keeping an eye on how long they're able to keep going on these soft tyres. McEwen has been looking after them. Scotty Ray is one of the drivers who's maybe hurting a little bit more, along with Adam. And then of course we've talked about Ben Groves. He's also on the medium, so he's able to keep pushing on those medium tyres. They're going to need to go long on the mediums to then switch onto the softs in the second half of this stint. But at the front, 1.5 seconds the gap. Simon Bishop has got pace out of those medium tyres, and you know, we talk about having to be prepared for the race, having to do your research and know the strategies. I wonder if some of these other drivers, you know, expected the medium to be going so strong, or whether they're having to now think and readjust, or whether they even realize that Simon Bishop is on a different tyre. You know, are they tuned into the stream? Do they have someone in their ear that can tell them what the other drivers are doing?
Yeah, certainly right. And I mean, even looking at like the sun looks like it's starting to come out. You're starting to see some shadows on the cars a bit more, and track temperature, I'm sure Matthew McEwen will tell you, track temperature is definitely a thing in the game. You know, it's not just one of those cosmetic, oh yeah, it just looks pretty. Like, the track does warm up, it does cool down. You know, when it rains, the water sort of flows where it would in real life. So it's just because it's not on the display, it's not on the screen, doesn't mean it's not in the game. For the longest time, there was no wind readout, and then they added it, and there were people, oh wait, there is wind, and it turned out it had been in there from day one. So, you know, there's so much technology, there's so much simulation that goes on in these Polyphony Digital are notoriously meticulous for just a sense of realism and a sense of accuracy. You know, not just with the cars, but with the environments. And, you know, the guys like the McEwens and the Cy Bishops, they learn about that sort of stuff. They get the knowledge, you know, from even being in the World Tours. You know, they get to talk, they get to find out from the devs. They say, well, why does this happen? Oh, well, it's because this. And, you know, so all of that knowledge that they sort of get to take into these events. And, I mean, you're seeing it now. Simon Bishop driving what, by all accounts, should be the worst tyre, and he's currently doing the best. So, but McEwen is definitely hurting, though. I mean, his last lap time was like a 19.7. Bishop's doing the 28.8s, so he is definitely 29.4. Sorry, 29.4. So he's definitely hurting on those softs at this point. But again, 11 laps in, he could just chuck on another set of softs and go again. Whereas Bishop needs to consider that he's used to the mediums at the moment. He's going to actually, looks like we're going to see it right now. McEwen and possibly Dive Cable into the pits.
Absolutely, they've both come in, and this is the critical moment. McEwen and Dive Cable coming off those soft tyres. They've made it to the halfway point. I think we're going to see all the soft tyre runners coming in, putting on another set of softs, and going for another 11 laps. So very interesting split in strategy here between Simon, Ben, a few of these drivers. It looks like Crimson as well on the mediums, and it is Supra on the mediums as well. So 4 drivers there opting for the medium strategy. Very different decision from the rest of the field who have gone for those softs in the first stint and are going to split the race evenly. Softs and then softs again. Try and make it last, but we saw he lost. McEwen lost so much time behind Simon just on that last lap when the tyres were at their worst. He had to really baby it around the track, and he came into the pits nearly 3 seconds behind Simon Bishop. So he's going to go out now on these fresh soft tyres and just absolutely blast around there. Try and get this undercut to work on Simon. But to catch up 3 seconds, that's going to be tough. Simon's looked so consistent on those medium tyres, but this is the critical point to keep an eye on. What is the crossover? Is McEwen going to be able to call the strategy right? Has he got the speed now on the soft tyre to close that gap and make the undercut work?
Well, that's certainly the easiest strategy, right? Is to just chop the race cleanly in half. You know, 22 lap race, come in at lap 11, and the fuel wasn't even that far off either. They were pretty. I think I saw sort of 47 litres. Oh yeah, Bishop's just come in 41, and bearing in mind he's done an extra lap, so the fuel's not even really that far off, is it? So now bring out your stopwatches, guys, because we need to see where Bishop comes out relative to McEwen. If he can come out 3 seconds or better, then yeah, we'll see. He might overcut. But just a little bit of splash of fuel just to give himself a bit of insurance, but it looks like McEwen might have him.
Wow, and there's actually quite a big difference there that Simon Bishop coming out behind McEwen. He's going to have to close in nearly 2 seconds he's come out. And we've just got word as well that the pit crew has let McEwen know that Simon was on mediums for that first stint, and McEwen was fuming when he heard that. So he wasn't expecting that strategy. He wasn't expecting Simon to be ahead of him and to be so quick on the harder compound of tyre.
Yeah, that's tricky. I didn't actually look to see if McEwen took on any fuel. Obviously, Simon took a little bit of fuel. Not sure if McEwen took any, but yeah, I mean, like I say, it didn't look too far off as far as fuel numbers regardless. He
no, you've got it.
Much.
You've called it right there. So McEwen has been saving a bit of fuel in that first stint. Looks like he didn't take any because he just had 49 litres left in the tank, whereas Simon Bishop has topped up a bit, and that might be explain the difference in terms of the pit time there. Simon had to stay stationary a little bit longer to put some fuel in, and that's going to allow him to keep pushing the second half of this race. He's opted for the strategy that allows him to just really attack the track. He's got one less lap that he has to do on these tyres. So we saw that last lap from McEwen was so slow in the first stint. Simon's not going to have to do that here in this stint, so he can afford to push a little bit harder, but he doesn't have track position. He needs to make up that time and try and get the overtake on track on McEwen.
Oh, I like this. I love seeing the different strategies come into play. This is, as you see Supra getting out of the way. Who would want to be the one holding up Simon Bishop when he's on the warpath to Matthew McEwen, right? So, yeah, that's all that traffic that they came out into looks like it's now behind them. So now it's game on. You've got McEwen, who's got track position, and like you say, he possibly needs to just save a bit of fuel. And then you got Bishop, who's taken a bit of a time penalty with that extra refueling, but now he can just white knuckle it. Get out of my way! I'm coming for the second win.
And we're really seeing the difference now in terms of who was able to conserve that tyre a little bit longer. Supra staying out on the mediums. He's not confident in his ability to keep the soft tyre under him, so he wants the shortest soft tyre stint as possible. Whereas Simon Bishop, he's going to go for the full, well, not quite full, the 10 laps. McEwen going for the full 11 laps. He's really going to have to conserve both tyres and fuel. Is that going to open the door to Simon Bishop in behind him to try and push and catch up, as Supra still sits in third and Dive Cable now closes up, because Supra really struggling on those mediums.
Yeah, again, this is the whole thing about the split strategies, right? The different approaches, and just what's the right way to go about it, So McEwen's already gifted one win to Simon. The last thing he's going to want to do is gift another one. But that being said, 6 tenths and arguably the better fuel numbers, it's looking pretty good for Simon so far.
It is, but like I say, they always say, it's a cliche, to catch is one thing, to pass is another. Simon already is sort of filling out the mirrors, just a few car lengths back. He's flying around the circuit with that fastest lap, 27.8, with fuel and tyre wear on board. That is very rapid in these Lexus around Fuji, and you can just see how quickly he closes in. It's really, if you're McEwen, you've got to be sweating a little bit at this point, knowing that he came into the pits later than you.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've already mentioned these pro guys. I mean, these are the best in the country, right? You got to remember, these aren't just, it wasn't just a sign up if you feel like going fast. It was a sign up if you're the best. And the caliber of talent that we've seen sign up for this championship, these are genuinely the best New Zealand has to offer. But as good as you can be at locking in and punching out the laps, when you've got someone in your mirrors and being a real nuisance, that can't not be distracting. I mean, look at Bishop, half a second away. The slipstream, the effective slipstream is about a second just in general. So to be 4 tenths now, we're going to watch that gap close up very rapidly now. And yeah, I mean, it's just a waiting game for Bishop at this point, because he could well send it into turn 1 now if he felt like some quality entertainment. But like we saw from Bathurst, he might just wait and see if Matthew gifts it to him.
Oh, and yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? How much do you bide your time versus try and make something happen? I think potentially through some of these right-handers, he's going to just be keeping an eye on where is McEwen conserving, because we know McEwen has to make these tyres last. So when you're up this close to the car in front, just keeping an eye on what's he doing. What's the behavior of the car through certain corners? Are there places where he's conserving more than others? Is he backing off in certain braking zones to try and save a little bit of fuel as well? He seems to still be carrying plenty of pace around the track, so it's not going to be an easy job for Simon Bishop, but those are the sort of things that run through your mind when you are tucked up and behind another car. It's just thinking about what sort of advantage you can get to try and make something happen in the later stages of this race.
Certainly right, Matt, but we should probably give the rest of the drivers a bit of airtime too, because they're on track as well. Slybear the Cat's currently got the fastest lap too, 27.6, and he's sitting in 6th place in that sort of thick mid-pack that he's, it's anyone's game at the moment. No one is out of reach. And just silent but deadly is our Ben Groves. I mean, he's one of the few drivers that's got experience in real life as well as the virtual world. He does the racing down south with his MR2, which, as far as race cars go, I think you know a thing about wrangling MR2s, don't you, Matt? So
I'm awfully fond of an MR2.
Adam as well, he's another one with some real life race experience. Actually raced at the final ever event at Pukekohe, raced at Seoul. And again, sim racing just proving that you can actually get into real racing as well. I don't think it's ever going to overtake go-karting. You know, karting's kind of the traditional entry point, but I definitely think it's going to it's an as well as, not an instead of, right?
Absolutely right, and it's just another avenue that everyone can get into it. It's really cool to see a lot of these drivers come from just enjoying racing as a game, you know, just as a little bit of a hobby, and then they realize, oh, you know, it's actually quite fun to try and push, to try and improve the times, to try and get better. And oh, hey, I'm actually like reasonably good at this. I might need to get myself a racing wheel, try and take it a little bit more seriously. And there's a lot of these drivers who we have watched their journey as they've improved, as they've moved through the ranks, come up from Division 2 in previous years, now racing against the top dogs, racing in Division 1, the best in the country, of course. This is the GT New Zealand Championship. It is the nationally recognized New Zealand Championship. We will be crowning the New Zealand champion that is recognized by NZ Sim Racing Collective, and of course the series with the support of NZ Esports as well. So it's really cool that we have that, you know, official backing to show that these guys are the top dogs, and they all started, you know, just racing for fun in a video game.
And that's where it all starts, right? That's the slippery slope. And I mean, oh, what do we got going on here? We've got the Hooncorp, we've got Adam versus Ben, and I mean, I already said there's no team orders here. It's play for keeps, and just maybe a bit of gamesmanship for Adam to go right to the pit wall and really hug it. He's not going to let Ben by just because, but he looks like he got out of that one. Of course, it's a very fast left-hander that. Again, you don't want to get a track cut either. You know, you obviously have to go offline to pass a car, but you don't want to get a track cut in the process, because then that'll just undo all your hard work. Yeah, no, these guys are, you know, hopefully they'll still be a bit civil about it, but by the same token, there's points on offer here, mate, and that mid-pack's still wide open.
And this is a battle that's actually similar to the lead. There's the jink, there's the move from Ben. He goes down the inside, tries to have a crossback from Adam in behind him, but the tyre difference. Ben, of course, started on the mediums. He went longer on that first stint, and so he's got fresher tyres at this point. And that's what we're seeing. Tom's car really moving around a lot more as he's losing grip compared to Ben, who is able to get down the inside, use the grip advantage that he has, and get the move done. Meanwhile, the battle at the front, I was talking about how it's similar, but this is actually not playing out that similar, is it? Because Bishop seems to have stalled out now that he's caught up to the back of McEwen. He's not really got enough of an advantage, it seems, to be able to get the move done. And I'm just looking at the data as well. He has used up his tyres a reasonable amount trying to fight. So I'm not sure that he has quite the advantage that he had at the start of this stint.
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, you say that as he goes purple sector, but of course the first sector at Fuji is about one corner. But yeah, it's always interesting when the game plan looks so good on paper, right? And then it just doesn't quite play out the way you envisioned it. But he's still there. I mean, he's putting Morse code on McEwen's bumper, so he's certainly not, it's not done and dusted, but yeah, you can't help but wonder if maybe he's just not quite got the upper hand that he did think. Remember, he does have the fuel advantage. He took on a bit of fuel, so the fact that he's here at the first place, if he can force McEwen to just spend a little bit of extra fuel, we might watch him run out, even. I mean, who's to say? But yeah, McEwen definitely under fire from Cy Bishop right now. Well, again, there's going to be a panel beating repair bill after this, but Bishop just gets a little bit out of shape and just so hard to get the power down. Like I said about Fuji, you get so used to the high-speed cornering and the downforce and the grip, and then that last sector is just so slow. You're reliant on the mechanical grip. So here we go, 0.2 of a second. Bishop should be able to make a pretty easy one from this. He's right there. He's going to go left. McEwen's going to go right. Matthew, what do you reckon is going to happen here?
Well, I was just mentioning that he might have stalled out and the gap had opened up a little bit, and then Simon just went for some moves, and he was trying to find something creative, wasn't he? He was looking up the inside at a few different spots on the last lap, down into turn number 1. That's where he was dominant on the first couple of laps, but McEwen seems to have figured it out as he goes round the outside. Simon Bishop, take a bow. What a move to get through there and to get ahead into the lead of the race. I can't believe they got through there nice and tidy, and Bishop did it on the outside as he now takes the lead, and he's going to try and extend the gap, but can McEwen try and return serve?
Yeah, those tyres will be begging for mercy. Like you said, he's already taken a pretty good chunk out of them, but there's only 2 laps left to go, so if he can just hold on to it for a little bit longer, wow, Matthew will not be happy. He will be fighting hard to try and resolve that one because he's, I mean, like you said, gifting one win away pretty much for free, and now this one, it's getting increasingly likely that he might. Is this the first winless round for McEwen? We have to wait and see. We got 2 laps to go, and yeah, half a second gap. It's getting tricky, Matt. It's getting really, really tricky.
Well, McEwen won the first race, of course, after the Simon Bishop mistake. So this would be the flip around. Previous round, they took a win each, and it might be heading that way again tonight. It's Simon Bishop in the lead now. He's the one with 0.6 seconds ahead of McEwen. And actually the tyre wear situation is curious because Simon Bishop has now burnt up the front left tyre more than McEwen has, but the rest of McEwen's tyres, the rear tyres, he's been working a bit harder, of course having put those tyres on a lap earlier than Bishop did, and McEwen's fuel situation is getting low. So I think that's going to be part of it, is he's going to be saving fuel, whereas Simon Bishop has a bit sort of extra in the tank that he can continue to push on down the straights, and now extending that gap. So now that he is out in front, he's showing the advantage that he had. And you know what? Gareth Collier, dive cable, is not too far behind here. So if McEwen is having to conserve on these last 2 laps, he might be at risk of losing his second place as well.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. This is the thing. He didn't take on fuel. He obviously looked at his pace, looked at his numbers, and went, "Yep, I can make those numbers work." I guess he didn't count on some battling. He probably didn't bank on getting quite involved in the tank. And this is the thing, right? Every battle, every move, everything that you do with another car takes away from your pre-planned, clean run, right? So. Yeah, he could well be compromised. We're coming to the final lap time, and yeah, I did get that previous race completely round the wrong way, so sorry for that one. But yeah, this is just, I mean, where do you look? Bishop looks like he's all but got it. McEwen, there's a bit of a question mark on that fuel situation, and then Dive Cable he's got the front row seat. He's got the popcorn and drink. He's ready if McEwen has gotten this one wrong.
Final lap of the race, Simon Bishop in the lead by 1.5 seconds now. That has blown out as soon as he got past. But is McEwen having to conserve here because Dive Cable is closing in? Could this be a last lap switch as they continue to fight on? Only a few kilometers left to go at this Fuji circuit. It's been a long one, 22 laps at Fuji. It's been another big night of racing as it comes to the close. Is there any fatigue that might play a role in the final laps? McEwen so far saying no. He's doing a nice job to keep it tidy here as he keeps conserving fuel. And I can tell you, it is definitely blinking red for nearly empty on the fuel tank. He's going to be running it close in the last few corners.
Yeah, Dive Cable will be smelling blood. He'll be watching that gap getting closer and closer, or something's up with McEwen. He will know. He's not stupid. He'll know. But will it be 1.5 seconds worth of mistake, I suppose? As we round the last corner for the last time, this has just been an absolute cracking round. I mean, Simon Bishop, take a bow. That was an absolute entertaining bout of laps, and he knows it. He's just taking the win. Bishop takes the win. McEwen second. Dive Cable third. I mean, how good. Scotty Ray only just misses out on that podium, but again, still a phenomenal round for him. Slyben the Cat P5 and also the fastest lap, so he's definitely proven that he's anything but slow. Atom P6, Crimson 7th. It looks like Supra is going to take 8th. Oh, man.
And so Simon Bishop gets redemption after the mistake in race number 1. He had to work hard for it here in race 2, going for the different strategy to some of the drivers around him, starting on the mediums, got in the lead, extended the lead, and then took fuel in at the pit stop while McEwen had to conserve in that second stint. And it worked out with the move at the end. Simon Bishop did it around the outside. It was bold, it was brave, it was beautiful, and it secured him a race win, and it keeps the championship alive. We're going down to the final round. There's 26 points between the front two, 30 points on offer in the final 2 races of the season.
Yeah, that's awesome. We always love it when the championship goes down to the final round. So that's gonna make next week very interesting. You're gonna want to tune in on that one. You're gonna want to catch all of that action, and of course we'll be bringing it to you right here. It's yeah, that's cool. I mean, obviously McEwen just I don't know. I don't know. What do you say? Because there's so many different ways you could go about it. There's so many different angles. There's so many different storylines. All of these guys are here because they're the best. And now the national championship, the big one, the one that everyone wants to win, is actually going to go down to the final round. And we've got a doozy of combos for the final round. Of course, we'll talk about that a bit later. But yeah, that's going to make everything all the more.
So here we should be able to bring up confirmation of the race results. Then McEwen hanging on. The smell of an oily rag at the end of that race. He was down to no fuel at all, but he did manage to keep the speed up and get across the line in second place. So there is the order. Simon Bishop wins the final race of the night. McEwen in second. Dive Cable, final spot on the podium for him. Ahead of Scotty Ray in fourth. Ben Groves there in fifth. Good to see Tom up in the fight again in this race. He finished in sixth, ahead of Crimson. Supra, who stayed out a long time on those mediums in the first stint, didn't quite work out his way. He finished out in eighth place. And then we go over to the next board and we'll see Clan Fever and Lewis rounding out the field in ninth and 10th. So that was our two races for the night. This has been the GT New Zealand Championship, powered by the New Zealand Sim Racing Collective, sponsored by Toyota GAZOO Racing New Zealand and NZ Esports. We've had brought to you as well by Hooncorp Esports, the broadcast by TrackSpotTV, live on NZ Sim Racing TV. It's a whole team that comes together to make these things happen, and it puts on exciting racing. Credit to the drivers as well who put on a show. Nathan, any final words of the action we've seen tonight?
Mate, you couldn't script racing this good, and special shout out has to go to Liam Tame for Viper Z, because he was instrumental in putting together these combos. I was sort of reaching out with how do we set up these races, the tire multipliers, the laps and all that sort of thing, and he was just a huge help. He's brought together some cracking racing. I mean, dude, the hectic motorsport moments that we've enjoyed all season, not just this round, all season. Yeah, huge thanks to him for that legwork.
Well, that has been our two races for the night. I believe we do have some interviews to get into as well, get to the driver's perspective of what we have just witnessed. Here we are then. We do have Scotty Ray joining us. Scotty Greenless, welcome to the booth. You, I believe, finished on the podium in race number 1, just missing out in fourth there in race number 2. How do you recap your night of racing?
It was a solid night actually, especially after the disaster class that happened last week. I've got to be happy with the podium in a P4. First race was just a bit scruffy from my end, to be honest. I was trying to line up a move on Simon coming into the elbow, but I just got a bit greedy going through the dipper. Got a 1 second. That's kind of my race over there. Second race, it was alright. Definitely one of my weaker tracks and weaker cars. Never really liked Fuji, to be honest. Just murdering my tyres and trying to keep Adam behind me. And then he had some unfortunate penalties and an unfortunate mistake which dropped him back behind him. But yeah, a solid night overall.
It's okay, mate. Fuji likes you, I'm sure. Do you feel like you sort of a bit of redemption from that last? I mean, we're not going to keep going on about what a horror the last week was, but can you sort of sleep a bit easier now, knowing that actually you've sort of you're up there with the best, mate?
Yeah, it is a bit better. I'm still kind of in championship recovery mode after that. Was it like 8th position finish in the second race? But yeah, it does make it a little bit easier knowing I can still compete up the top, and that wasn't just a one-off opportunity.
Nice. And last round next week, it is going to be a wet weather race at Dragon Trail. What's your wet weather skill like?
I love driving in the wet. It is one of my favourites, and the Nürburgring as well, which I believe is the second race, best track in the world. So I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun.
Nah, awesome work, man, and it was so great seeing you at the pointy end last week and this week again on the podium. So awesome credit, and all the other drivers I think have acknowledged as well how quick you've been driving throughout this championship. So it's been cool to see it, and no, we have to give you a lot of credit for that. I will give you a moment as well. Do you want to shout out anyone? I know you're racing for TWC Esports, but is there any other shout outs you want to give now?
Yeah, shout out Adam, to be honest, for kind of pushing me along and making me drive faster. But yeah, shout out to obviously my family for watching, and the TWC Esports guys. It really helped me put me where I am.
Awesome work. No, thank you, Scotty, for joining us. It's been great to chat and get the insights from some of these top drivers. We do have as well another interview lined up, so we should be able to bring in Simon Bishop for the next chat. Simon, welcome in. It was another successful night, but we also talk about a race number one. So congratulations on the win first, but a mixed bag perhaps from your perspective.
Yeah. The first race was just unfortunate, really. On my end, I got a wee lag bump, which sent me off, as you saw. But then I made a mistake before that let him even get that close, so that was annoying. But I mean, otherwise it was good. Second race was surprisingly good. I mean, it got a gift when Matt bowled a wide, which really helped. And then, I just knew that if I held him up in the fast stuff, he'd burn all his tyres up. So he did. And then I didn't expect him to pit so early. So he undercut me. And then I guess he tried to do the exact same thing that I did to him by making me have to suffer through all that dirty air. But then I got close enough to have a proper crack, and away we went.
Was it your choice to take fuel at the? Was it your choice to take fuel at the pit stop, or were you? Because I mean, he was by the end of the race, Matt was very clearly compromised. Didn't take any fuel and was just in fuel safe the entire time. So was that the plan from day dot, or was that just how it played out?
It had never occurred to me that he might not take fuel at all. So I was just going to fuel myself to go full beans because I didn't want to have to be behind him, although came out right behind him. But it does explain why he was so slow in some of the parts. I couldn't figure that out. And then to get around the outside at turn 2 was pretty good. You don't see that happen very often. But it was just a solid day. Like, I knew I didn't quite have the speed in qualifying, but I was pretty happy to get second. I was only just away at Bathurst, and then it all opened up in front of me in turn 1. And then I was just going, okay. And I had anticipated going like another 5 laps on the medium, so I'd saved them heaps, but then I realised that I was going to have to cover them off. So, but yeah, good day. Again, another race where I feel like another night where I should have probably got 2 wins, but that's all right.
Yeah, so you started that race 2 on the mediums. Did you realise that a bunch of the other drivers were going to go for 2 stints on the softs?
No. The mediums were so good tyre-wise. I guess, it just never occurred to me that people were just going to only run softs because I knew that they were really good for 1 or 2 laps, and they just fell off like crazy, which I guess you saw. But yeah, when I just knew that the mediums were going to last that well. Who else ran them?
It was Ben, I believe. Ben,
there was 4 cars, but Ben was the next one in line that was behind you. Yep.
Oh, that's interesting.
Lots of soft runners.
Yeah, I couldn't tell what people were on, to be honest. I knew at the start that I wasn't the other people were on softs because I got absolutely mugged, but it's a surprise. I mean, it worked out for me. The tyres were great at the end of the stint for me.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw you extend that gap late in the stint, which worked out. But then taking the fuel, there was another different strategy again. So there was a lot that we were talking about up here in terms of the different battle that unfolded. But what's the mindset when you do have a mistake in race 1 and then race number 2, you're chasing down McEwen after that pit stop? What are you thinking there, and how much pressure are you feeling in that moment?
I was less mad at myself after race 1 than you might think. I was definitely grumpier at other races, but when I came up behind him and I was 3 seconds behind, I was like, oh, for God's sake. And then he just kind of came back to me a wee bit, but I knew what he was doing because, I mean, he was doing what I did to him. And then, I just I assumed that I was just going to get stuck a second behind him, but then as I begin to get a few sniffs on him, particularly with some of the lines he was taking, you would have seen that I was just cutting to the apex, because the minute you can get out of the dirty air, your car turns so well. And because I had slightly better tyres than him, and obviously a fuel advantage, I knew that if I could just get a good run out of the corners, but if you follow him, you get nothing, as you saw for several laps. But then, yeah, solid day. Tomorrow, next week's going to be something. I don't particularly like the Group B cars. I don't particularly like the wet. And then the Nordschleifer is going to be, you'd think I like it, but I don't. But we'll see how we go.
Certainly a way to round out the series. And Simon, don't forget to take a nice big photo of that Supra and send it George's way. I hear he'd really appreciate that from you, mate.
Yeah, I don't know why he was so unkind about my paint schemes. I thought they were magical. Maybe we should get it printed out so he can frame it and put it on his wall.
Nice big canvas print. That sounds great.
I'm up for it. We can make something happen, I'm sure. No, congratulations again on the race win, Simon, and we'll give you a moment if you want to shout out anyone as well now that we've got a couple of seconds on broadcast.
Shout out to George, being sick. Poor wee fella. He'll be gutted. Otherwise, McEwen and I had some great battles, so it was great again. Gave each other racing room, which you would have seen, because it's very easy to just drive someone else off the road, particularly in these things. Otherwise, Divecab did really well. He wasn't that far off winning that last race. So he was really, really good. Otherwise, yeah, shout out to you guys, I suppose. I hope you enjoyed.
Certainly, I was enjoying watching on that one. That was some good racing tonight. And thanks for coming and joining us in the booth and having a chat, Simon. It's good to hear the driver's perspective of what they're seeing out on track and how they're approaching the different battles that do unfold throughout a night of racing. I was kind of hoping that he might, stir the pot a little bit. They're always so respectful between the other drivers, aren't they?
Yeah, and they always downplay, I don't like the rain, I don't like the Group B cars, and then this time next week, you just watch, he'll be there or thereabouts pace-wise, so, masters of understatement, these professional guys are.
Oh, that's absolutely true. We've heard it a couple of times from Simon, and it always used to get on my nerves because, these top drivers are so good at just jumping in a car and performing at the top level, whereas someone like myself, I have to do hours of practice to try and keep up with them. So, when they do say these things, I don't like it, then they go out and perform. It always frustrated me. But we do have one more quick interview that we are going to get. Race winner from race number 1, Matthew McEwen, is going to be joining us. Matthew McEwen joins us now to have a bit of a chat. Congratulations on the win in race number 1. You came close in race number 2 with a different strategy to Simon there, but you couldn't quite do it. How do you sum up the night's race action?
It was just an absolute shambles, to be honest. Everything went wrong, really. I forgot that you're supposed to qualify second at Bathurst, and so I got the inside for turn 1, which is promptly the outside for turn 2. And then decided that I was going to try to hang it around the outside of a corner that you can't hang it around the outside of, and so, okay, let's get, run wide and then end up in P3, and so then spend the entire race trying to catch up to Simon, and then just, make a bunch of mistakes, and then finally catch up, and I thought that maybe he'd made a mistake at the end, but no, apparently I'd hit him, which I didn't see on my screen, but I'm assuming the result will just have to stand because lag is just lag, and I didn't, I didn't even realise that he'd seen me hit him. And then, obviously that was a bit of luck. And then the second race was also just a shambles. I didn't learn what the braking point was off the grid, and so I used the flashing of the recommended gear, but I forgot that the recommended gear flash is wrong in this game, and so I went flying wide and then promptly got stuck behind Simon for 11 laps again.
That race one, makes a change from just driving away from everybody and, never having any action. But, that second race, did you realise that he was on mediums? Also, when did you realise that he was running a slightly different strategy?
I had a hunch because of how slow he was, but then everyone else in the party was just telling me, no way, he's got to be on softs. There's no way he would do something like that. And I'm like, well, hold on. Why am I absolutely hounding him in the dirty air and obliterating my tyres and saving a bunch of fuel?
And so yeah, it was reasonably obvious to me, and then someone pipes up and says, hey, he's on mediums, and I'm like, yeah, well, I knew that the whole time, didn't I? Well, that's not what I said, but anyway. And then, yeah, well, you know, just come into the pits, and the strategy was, well, why not just make it worse, right? And so I decided not to fuel, because I was like, well, I'm on 49 litres, you know, I might as well just try to run it to the end. But then I kind of forgot that I'd saved an absolute ton of fuel behind Simon, and I really needed about 53, 54 to actually be comfortable. And so naturally just went and killed my race that way as well. So I had to save fuel and let him past. If I didn't have to save fuel, I would have been able to go full throttle down the straight, and probably would have been able to keep him behind him just like he did to me.
Well, see, like we talked earlier. We talked earlier about this result of tonight means that the championship's still wide open to the final round. You haven't walked away from this one with the title. Simon was just saying he doesn't like the rain, he doesn't like the Group B cars, and he doesn't like Nürburgring. So, you know, by the sounds of it, it's a bit of a tough one for him, this championship finale. What are your thoughts on all of this?
I was listening to that, and you guys called him out on that, and I don't think I need to.
What about your own thoughts?
Well, I know that you say
Don't
wide
worry,
open.
You can tell us, otherwise we'll pull you out.
Well, I don't think Gardens is a great track, but for some reason I'm good there. It's like a Catalunya. There's a couple of other tracks that I hate, but I'm good at. So, you know, that's one thing. The Group B cars are certainly one of the classes of all time. I won't go much further than that. And then rain, yeah, I don't mind rain. It'll add some chaos. It'll end up being hopefully just a bit of a race of survival, and then, you know, if I'm halfway up the grid, then that'll leave me in a really good position in the last race.
Well, you continue to lead the championship heading into the final round. I just want to get one little quick thought from you before we close out. You are leading the championship, like you say, it's mathematically open. It's not really wide open. What's the mindset heading into the final round? Are you just going to try and seal the deal, or are you still pushing in every race?
Well, I don't see much reason to treat it much different to the last 5 weeks, besides the fact that I was a little bit sick the last couple of days, which is why I didn't do any practice yesterday. Not that that's a good excuse for driving like an absolute nutter in these 2 races. But, you know, hopefully next week I'll be able to just put the normal amount of effort that I've been putting into the other 4 weeks before that. And, you know, the strategy changes slightly. You know, maybe if even in the races today, if I was equal with Simon, I'd say that I might have really pushed the absolute limits, try to do something crazy. But the points do kind of play into it a little bit. You know, I have to play it a little bit safe. You know, I'd be stupid to go and wreck in 2 whole races and manage to throw the whole thing away. But yeah, you know, I feel like most of it is really just still do the same amount of practice, push just as hard, learn as much as I can, and then, you know, maybe just drive slightly safer in the race. You know, can accept a second or a third instead of trying to battle for first and then come in last.
Well, good luck for the final round. Congratulations again for the race win tonight. We look forward to watching that one unfold next week. Same place, same time. We'll be back on NZ Sim Racing TV as we head towards the final round of the championship. And this is what we've got in store. Round 6, the Toyota 86 Group B Rally Car Dragon Trail Gardens. And we do see there rain on the radar. That is going to be an exciting race to see. And then the final race of the championship will be the Lexus LFA 2010 model. We're going to Nürburgring 24-hour layout, only 4 laps, because that is a monster of a track. And that is going to close out what has been an exciting season up to this point. It has been a lot of fun bringing the action tonight for round number 5. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back, as I say, next week with the grand finale. Make sure you come back and tune in to the GT New Zealand Championship.